So, and I will send out a link to this recording to everyone tomorrow. To mute you all. There we go. I'm Andy Glazier, and I am from Kittery, and I am a co-chair of our District 7780 Grow Rotary team, or as some of you call it, a membership team. And also on this call, we have Lorraine Faherty from Damascotta, Newcastle. She is my co-host this evening. Thank you, Lorraine. We have several esteemed presenters this evening, and we thank you very much for donating your time to us this evening. We have Governor Peggy. Peggy, I'll come back to you in a minute. We have past District Governor Carolyn Johnson, past District Governor Lawrence Furbish, past District Governor John Labasco. Thank you very, very much. And of course, we have Wilt. So also from Damascotta, Newcastle. So thank you very much for that. Our goal this evening is to provide a picture of Rotary beyond your club. Most Rotary clubs are not large enough to work in all 7 areas of focus. Additionally, some Rotarians are not familiar with Rotary action groups and Rotary fellowships, which provide theme-based ways to participate in Rotary in addition to participating in a conventional Rotary club. Be assured that every presenter this evening asks for more time. But Lorraine and I squeezed them very hard in order to keep this program down to 75 minutes. First up is our District Governor, Peggy Belanger from Kennebunk Portside, who has a few words of hello. Governor Peggy.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for being with us this evening. November is the month to give thanks. And as I was thinking about this, preparing for this evening and the fact that November is the month to give thanks, I couldn't be more thankful for all of you here this evening, all of you for being Rotarians. Rotarians are needed more than ever. Rotary, I'm sure you're learning, is a path that empowers us, that empowers people to do good in the world. We are an organization that provides opportunities to network and serve. I want to also thank you for your continued focus on safety of our Rotarians and our communities. I just want to end by saying we will get through this together, and I can only believe, I truly believe that we will come out of this much stronger as an organization and as individuals. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of Rotary. Without Rotarians, without Rotary clubs, the Rotary organization would not exist. So we are here for you.
Governor Peggy, thank you very much. Our next presenter, or our first up presenter, I guess I should say, talking about the structure of Rotary, or Rotary 101, is Wilton Jones from Damascotta, Newcastle. Wilton, you're on.
Great. Good evening, folks. Nice to have you here. I'm going to talk about the structure of Rotary a little bit, and I'll try not to put you to sleep with numbers, but I want you to take a look at the fact that we've got 1.2 million members and 35,000 worldwide clubs. We're the oldest and largest organization in the world. And I'm going to ask you now to imagine you're back in 3rd and 4th grade for a second. As a high energy student, you're excited about going out on the playground at recess, and you want to make the most of your time. You're trying to pick out where to have some fun. You're fast, you're flexible, and you're ready to focus on a variety of fun. That's a feeling you're going to have a little bit and around the relative excitement in Rotary. But with all those numbers of excited Rotarians around the world, how do we add some structure to that playground of chaos? Let's briefly talk about 3 specific areas of Rotary, like a 3-legged stool. You've got the members and the clubs. And I think the thing to remember about the members in the clubs is that The clubs are autonomous, they're flexible, they're unique to an organization. They really accommodate the members and the demographics of your community and the towns. Certainly they have a structure, the president, treasurer, secretary, things like that. And they have some chairs of various service above self activity, like the community activity, the international activity, youth, administration, literacy, educational grants. And they also have program chairs that do some fundraising and various projects within the community. They also have some unique approaches relative to including a lot of other folks. We have not only the Rotary Club, but we have Interact, which is for ages 18 and above. We've got, Rotaract, rather, 18 and above. And we got Interact, which includes some of the students 12 to 18 years of age. So it's a very inclusive approach to involving a lot of people in the services. And also a unique thing about our club meetings is they're very adaptive. They enhance participation by adapting to leverage some of our technology. We certainly appreciate that now with a pandemic, but we can expand our reach in a lot of different ways. There's a different variety of clubs, e-clubs, theme clubs. You're going to hear a little bit about that later on. And we also partner with a lot of organizations in the community, and we tie those things together. So you can get a flavor for the fact that we're pretty flexible relative to club organizations and adapt to what we need in the community and some of the interests that each member has. The second element I just want to bring up briefly is Rotary International. That's an important feature of the organization, the structure, in that they can quickly connect us to a network of clubs globally within all the humanitarian programs and initiatives that we tackle. They're very supportive, supportive clubs through all kinds of activities. They also understand that we're promoting integrity and advancement of world understanding, goodwill, and peace. And you'll hear a little bit more about that approach. And also the unique part about it is Rotary's not bounded by what you call the normal states, countries, borders. Basically, it's the geographic effort on Rotary is tied into the population. And so it's broken down into different areas. We have 530 districts around the world, and we have geographic zones that help support those districts, and 35 geographic zones. And we have the international office, which happens to be in Evanston, Illinois, close to the Chicago, where the original founding club was back in 1905. And the third element I think that's critical, that you're going to hear a lot more details about tonight, is the Rotary Foundation. They've been focused on projects since 1917, $4 billion in life-saving sustainable projects have been worked on since that time. And they basically can team multiple clubs and districts and RI, Rotary International, where we're able to partner with a lot of participants, and they can focus the impact, and they can leverage the funding of humanitarian grants locally and internationally. And the mission basically is to advance understanding goodwill, but they focus on some programs and details you'll hear around health, education, poverty, and the like. So as you go through the support you'll have, remember those three approaches to our structure. You got the clubs and the members, you got the Rotary International supporting you, and you got the foundation that focuses on some of the projects. So basically, when you think about the kids back in the playground for a second, it's like the third and fourth graders again hitting that playground. You know, they find a big pile of Legos and they're all excited about how to play with these things. Well, that's great. Now we have we found the instructions on what the Legos are going to do, and that's a little bit like the Rotary International group. And they tell you how to assemble your Legos, and so each one of the members can lean on the instructions a little bit, and they get surprised because now they find that Legos have various shapes and colors, and that even helps us put it all together. And that's a little bit what the Rotary Foundation is all about. And they focus us with all the work we do. So with that, I just want to wrap up and say thank you, and have fun tonight. We got a lot of information coming after.
Well, thank you very, very much.
Well,
Next up is our past district governor and current district foundation chair, Lawrence Furbish from our Sanford Springvale Club. Lawrence will be discussing our Rotary Foundation. Lawrence is then also going to pinch hit for our district Polio Plus chair, past district governor Ann Lee Hussey from our Portland Sunrise Club. And for Ann Lee, he will be covering fighting diseases. So Lawrence, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andy and Lorraine, for inviting me. I love to talk about the foundation. It's one of my real passions. I think it's one of the things that really sets Rotary apart from other public service organizations. I think when we think of foundations, first thought is things like the Ford Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, the Gates Foundation. These were businessmen that made huge amounts of money from their very successful entrepreneurship, put it in a foundation, and then pay out the interest in grants and so forth. Our Rotary Foundation is completely different. We're the ones who put money into it as well as get the money out of it to do our projects. The foundation started in 1917 with a donation of $26.50 from the Kansas City Rotary Club. And as Wilt said, it's grown, and $4.4 billion is the amount of money that the Rotary Foundation has handled since then. The foundation has a mission statement, and I want to just read it. It's short. The mission of the Rotary Foundation is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. Focus on those words, to enable Rotarians. The foundation doesn't exist in and of itself. It exists to help us do projects and things around the world and in our own communities to help people. They're primarily through two things, district grants and global grants. District grants are smaller. They're about $5,000 usually. They are typically in our own locations, our own communities, but they can be international as well. There is a deadline for applying for a district grant, June 1st. So now is a good time to start thinking about it if your club wants to do one for next year. There's a list of eligibility criteria that you have to meet. It's all on our district website. And I urge you to consider doing a global grant with your club. Global grants are much bigger. They're a minimum of $30,000. They work with a matching system. It's really quite magical. If a club or a group of clubs can come up with $10,000, the district will match that $10,000 with $10,000 of our own district designated funds. That makes it 20. And in turn, the World Fund in Evanston from Rotary International will match it with an additional 10. So clubs that can come up with 10 can end up with $30,000. Many global grants are a lot more than that. Our district has at this point about 20 or so global grants and $160 some dollars in DDF invested in them. Andy, could you put up that first slide, please? I thought this slide was one of the best that I'd ever seen in terms of easily explaining how donations take place. If you see on the left, you have contributions. On the top, if you could donate to Polio Plus, it goes directly to polio eradication. I'll be talking about that later. If you see 3/4 of the way down, if you donate to the endowment, our endowment is mostly wills and estates and so forth. All of the money donated to it stays in the endowment, and only the interest comes out. It goes into share in the World Fund and to support other grants. At the bottom, if you know about a particular global grant that you're interested in, you can make a donation directly to that global grant. But the most important donation you can make is to the annual fund, share. Money that goes into the annual fund, all of the money donated by Rotarians and clubs in our district stays there for 3 years, and then it comes out. Half of it goes into the World Fund, that Rotary International uses to match global grants, and half of it comes to us as DDF. And we divide that half into our own support for global grants and our support for district grants. It's one of these things, the more we donate, the more we have to use for projects for our clubs and our individuals. Could I have the next slide, Andy? This is the different ways that you can donate. I personally think the very best way is through Rotary Direct. You sign on to your My Rotary account. If you don't have a My Rotary account, Google how to create a My Rotary account. You'll get simple directions on how to do that. When you get into My Rotary, you'll see a button that says donate. Click on that. You can decide which fund you want to donate to, how much you want to donate, and how often you want to donate. It can be monthly, quarterly, yearly. You enter your credit card or bank information, and that donation will take place automatically. You don't have to remember to do it. You don't have to do anything. And you can always come back and change it. If you decide you want to donate more or donate less, you can do that. If you click on that donate button, you can also make a single individual donation. Again, using your credit card, you can decide which fund and how much. You can write a check and give it to your club foundation chair. This takes a little more time, but it's a way that you can do it if that's what you prefer. If you like to make your gift directly yourself, there is a form on our district website, how to make a donation to the foundation. Download that form, print it off, fill it out. There's the address for where to mail it, and you can send it in yourself. If your company, if you're employed and your company has a matching gift program, you can use that to increase the value of your donation to the foundation. It's a great thing to do. We never ask or expect people to donate more than they can afford. We all know everybody's financial situation is different. These are challenging times. There are businesses that are struggling to stay in existence with COVID. There are people that are struggling with unemployment. But you can always give whatever you can, and whatever you can give will be deeply appreciated. Rotary has something called E-Ray. It means every Rotarian every year. You get that for a $25 donation. And it is hard for me to believe that every Rotarian couldn't make a $25 donation sometime in the course of the year to the foundation. Could I have a next slide, Andy? This is the current membership of our district foundation committee. It's a great bunch of Rotarians. They're very dedicated. They all work very hard. Each of them has an assignment. You can see from the list what their assignments are. You're welcome. They're all welcome to come and speak at your clubs, or if you have questions, get in touch with them. On our district website, under the foundation and grants drop-down menu, you'll find this roster with all of their phone numbers and email addresses, so you can get in touch with them. And the last slide, Andy, please. On November 7th, we had a Celebrate the Foundation Zoom meeting on a Saturday morning. It ran for about an hour and 15 minutes. We had Brenda Cressy, who is a Rotary Foundation trustee in Evanston. She belongs to the South Portland Cape Elizabeth Rotary Club, speak. And we had Elizabeth Davis, who is our annual fund giving officer on the staff in Evanston. And I have to say, all these slides came from Elizabeth. I'm grateful to her for that. Donate what you can, but please donate. As I said, if you don't remember anything else I've said, remember this: the more we give, the more money we have to do projects locally and around the world. Andy, I'm going to ask that you play that little video now, please. Thank you. That's a great little introduction to the areas of focus. But before we turn to the first one, I want to talk about Polio Plus. This is Rotary's signature corporate project. It's our most important project that Rotary has. Polio is something off the radar screen for many people, but it mainly affects children under 5. There's no cure for it, but there is a vaccine. It costs about $3 on average to protect a child from polio. Our Rotary's project started in 1985, and since then we have reduced polio in the world by 99.9%. But it's still active in 2 countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan. COVID made it, required us to stop donating for about 4 months. Vaccinating, excuse me. We're back vaccinating again, but the Taliban controlled areas in those countries doesn't allow the vaccinations to take place. So it's still a struggle. The good news is that the Gates Foundation matches donations to Polio Plus 2 to 1. So if you give $10 to Polio Plus, it becomes $20 to fight polio. It's been a long, hard road. We're not there yet, but Rotary promised the children of the world that we would eradicate this terrible disease. And I know we can do it. We just have to be patient and persistent. The first one of our 6 areas of focus we're going to talk about is disease prevention and treatment. I already talked about polio, that's a main part, but there are projects and grants around the world to deal with malaria, HIV, AIDS, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, diabetes. Last year, there was $66 million in grants from Rotary to aid in disease prevention. There's some overlap with water and sanitation and hygiene and maternity and child health, but right now, there are 4 global grants supported by clubs in this district involving $40,000 in DDF that are directly related to disease prevention and treatment. And there are probably 7 others that are, if you have a water project in an African country that's really designed to protect young children from waterborne diseases, that's one that goes in both areas. I think my time is up, Andy. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate tonight.
Lawrence, thank you very much. Good job. Well done. Thank you. So our next subject is, or area of focus is promoting peace and conflict resolution. And it is presented by past District Governor Marty Hellman from our Booth Bay Harbor Club. Among Marty's multiple Rotary positions as Zone and Rotary International, Marty is the chair of our Rotary Peace Center's Major Gifts Initiative. Our Rotary Peace Centers, which is part of our Rotary Foundation, has their own endowment of about $165 million. Marty is working to increase that endowment. The bad news is Marty is in a zone meeting right now. The good news is she gave me a tape to play. It's 5 minutes. So if you need to run to the kitchen, I won't see you running to the kitchen.
In 1995, when Rajendra Saboo was chair of the Rotary Foundation. He took a walk in Evanston one afternoon, and there he saw the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University, and he said the immortal words, "If a cereal company can have a management school, why can't Rotary have a peace school?" Well, within about a decade, Rotary had a half dozen peace schools. Here in North America, we have a campus at, which is a joint venture of Duke UNC. And as you can see from this map, we have other schools around the world. The ones that are in purple offer a graduate program in peace and conflict development, and the ones that are in yellow offer a full 2-year master's. You may notice that the 2 that are in purple, one is Chulalongkorn University in Thailand, and the other one is a brand new university just opened this year as a peace center in Kampala, Uganda. We're very excited that that despite all the shutdowns and all the issues, the Rotary Peace Program is not only going on well, but it's actually expanding. Now, as I say, there are actually two programs. One is the master's and the other is the graduate certificate. The requirements for the two are very similar. However, the certificate requires more experience in the field before applying. So what happens is that the graduate certificate program tends to be mid-careerists who are already working in a peace field and who want to go back and have more qualifications in their area, whereas the master's program tends to be for slightly younger people. I will also say that the graduate certificate, because it's less expensive, shorter, it means we get more bang for the buck out of our scholars, and that's one of the reasons why that's the program that is expanding. Now, in case you think that studying peace means sitting around and singing Kumbaya, let me tell you that a lot of our work correlates with that of the Institute of Economics and Peace out of Australia. It turns out that peace is more than the absence of war. Positive peace is something that can be quantified and that results from having specific things in the country, and those the Institute for Economics and Peace has figured out 8 of these things that make up peace, and you can see them listed there on the right-hand side of your screen. Some of them make a lot of good sense. I guess all of them make good sense, but they're harder to have than you would actually think, because one of the things the Institute for Economics and Peace does is measure how countries come up on this scale. In other words, how peaceful a country can be. And here is their map. The dark green, including Canada and Australia, are the most peaceful countries in the world according to this measure. The red countries are the least peaceful countries in this world. How does the United States fare? Everyone always asks. Well, officially we're in the low category. We're one step above the red. We fall down on the scale on things like the amount of our industry that it works towards defense. Also, the high percentage of our own people who are incarcerated, and also the high percentage of guns that we have in the country. And in the last few years, we've fallen on the scale based on the lack of civil discourse in the country. So anyway, there's that snapshot. The most peaceful countries in the world happen to be Iceland and New Zealand, both of which are islands and don't have any immediate neighbors. On the other hand, Iceland is descendant from the Vikings, so you can take that information as you wish. What are the requirements to nominate a student? Well, the good news is no cost to the club or the district, no cash, no DDF, which is the monies that we have in our name at the World Fund, no geographic requirements, no age requirements, and of course, no requirements based on ethnicity or gender or so on. In fact, the only real requirement is the requirement that the student be prepared to give back. I point out the no geographic requirement. That means that this district could sponsor a student from Africa and a student that we met on an international program or some other such thing. And you will see the application deadline is in the spring. Acceptances come out, they've just come out, in fact, for students who are accepted the following autumn.
Thank you, Marty. So what Marty's saying is anyone in Rotary, which is all of you, could nominate someone to be a Rotary Peace Scholar and go to one of the peace programs on Rotary's dime. And so you just make that suggestion to our foundation committee and they would see that it went to the right place. Our next area of focus is clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. Rotary has a lot of abbreviations and acronyms, and we sometimes call this area of focus WASH, W-A-S-H. So I'm pitch hitting on this area of focus for Rich Cromwell of our Bath Club. Among other things that Rich does, Rich Cromwell leads our district WASH action group, and he has done substantial wash work in Cambodia, among other countries. I'm going to start with a short 1-minute video, and then I'll chat just a little bit more. It's coming.
A single act of good can go a long way. It can cross oceans, cure disease, and create equality. As members of Rotary, we are people of action, and our actions have the power to speak loud and clear. We're changing lives and creating opportunities through our groundbreaking work in clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. Our global grants help communities create and maintain water resources close to home, because when clean water is within a child's grasp, so is a safe and promising future. We're committed to supporting sanitation projects that meet the needs of women and girls. Our programs provide modern facilities and hygiene training to cultivate long-term health and wellness. From safe access to water to private toilets and programs to teach healthy habits, we're working in homes, clinics, and schools to help families live healthy lives. Rotary Club members unite to create a world where water, sanitation, and hygiene are cornerstones of self-confidence and dignity, well within the reach of families who need it most. With more than a century of experience in service, Rotary is uniquely positioned to meet the challenges of today and fulfill the promise of a peaceful, healthy tomorrow. Your contribution to the Rotary Foundation keeps families connected to a world of good. Every gift is an action that speaks volumes across classrooms, communities, and continents. Learn how you can support the cause that means the most to you.
When people have access to clean water and sanitation, waterborne diseases decrease. Children stay healthier and attend school more regularly, and mothers can spend less time carrying water and more time helping their families. Through water, sanitation, and hygiene, WASH programs, Rotary's People of Action mobilize resources, form partnerships, and invest in infrastructure and training that yield long-term change. Since 2013, the Rotary Foundation has invested more than 1,000 WASH projects in more than 100 countries. Through grants from the Rotary Foundation and fundraising by Rotary clubs, our Rotary volunteers have supported water purification, hygiene education, latrine construction, and waste management. So just thinking, in the last few years that I've been a Rotary, I think our district has worked in 11 or 12 countries: Cuba, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, El Salvador, Guatemala, Uganda, Nigeria, Cambodia, Honduras, and Burundi, and possibly more that I missed. So very active program, very successful. Pam and I were blessed to have had the opportunity to travel on a Carolyn Johnson trip to Guatemala, where we worked on some water filters, and we were blessed to travel to Cuba and install water filters there as well. So thank you, Rich Cromwell, for that little piece. Many of our areas of focus intertwine with each other, and they're interdependent upon each other. So while I just chatted about water, sanitation, and hygiene, now Governor Peggy is going to discuss maternal and child health. Governor Peggy.
Thank you, Andy. I'd like to start with a couple of quotes. A single act of good can go a long way. And we heard this in the video that just played. Every action speaks volumes. And I think this is so pertinent to the maternal and child health area focus. Maternal and child health area focus is about saving mothers and children. Nearly 6 million children under the age of 5 die each year because of malnutrition, poor health care, and inadequate sanitation. What does Rotary do about this? Well, Rotary makes high quality, health care available to vulnerable mothers and children so that they can live a longer life and a stronger, healthier life. By expanding access to quality care, mothers and children everywhere can have the same opportunities for a healthy future. I want to share with you my experience. 2 years after graduating from nursing school, I worked for 10 years as a home health and public health nurse. And I was responsible in the public health realm to provide maternal and child health. And what that encompassed was visiting high-risk families. It included providing community-based immunization clinics and mobile health clinics. And the point I want to make here is that maternal and child health is important to every single mother and child in this world. That when we talk about maternal and child health care, it's not just about thinking of third world countries, it's about thinking about our neighbors next door. And I had the privilege of working with these families. And I can say to you that what Rotary does is what I was doing before I was even a Rotarian. So it kind of, for me said, this is another reason why I'm so proud to be a Rotarian and how prepared I was to be a Rotarian. So how does Rotary make this happen? Well, there are several things that they do, but the ones that come to mind for me are one, that they provide education. And how they do this is, for example, by teaching mothers how to prevent mother-infant HIV transmission. Rotary helps to teach mothers how to breastfeed, how to protect their families from disease. Education is how we as Rotarians can make sure that what we provide for available healthcare continues once we leave. Without education, we cannot confirm that there'll be sustainability of what we've initiated. The other thing that Rotary has found is that they can provide assistance with immunizations. And we've talked about that. Lawrence alluded to that regarding the polio, the polio vaccinations and malaria and so forth. Rotary's giving out birth kits. Rotary is doing a lot in regards to mobile health clinics. And I was thinking about our district, and I had an opportunity to talk with Lawrence, who confirmed for me, and Carolyn, being a member of the Yarmouth Club, one of our latest global grants that has to do with maternal and child health was the Yarmouth Global Grant that provided money for neonatal preterm care and prenatal care, and I believe it also included some incubators. Is that correct, Carolyn? Okay, Carolyn is nodding. Carolyn, do you remember what country that was in?
It was in Bulgaria.
In Bulgaria, that's right. Lawrence, you said that to me today. That was in Bulgaria. Actually, that came about because we had an international outreach program go out to Bulgaria, and Lawrence, I believe you were part of that. And that research of working with Rotary clubs in Bulgaria, we came back with this project. The power of Rotary, I tell you. Some other things that Rotary has done is worked with children who have been traumatized by war by offering Rotary kid camps. Rotaries give kids a chance to be kids. So I just want to finish up by saying that, the Rotary Foundation reaches mothers and children who are in need. And what we do is that we work with the communities to help them identify their needs, help them identify what they need for training, and that we, with the tools that we provide and the funding that we provide and the education that we provide, helps these countries and these communities to take control of their maternal and child health care. So I hope you consider, as Rotarians joining this phenomenal organization, let us, any one of us, know how we can support what you might be interested in being involved in an area of focus. We can make that happen. We have the leadership, we have the skills, we have the expertise, hands down, we're ready to help you achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Peggy. Past District Governor Carolyn Johnson of our Yarmouth Club wears many Rotary hats. Here is just one of them. Carolyn is the chair of Rotary's Basic Education and Literacy Rotary Action Group, sometimes known as LitRag. Carolyn is going to speak to us about two areas of focus: basic education and literacy and growing local economies. Carolyn Johnson. Muted. Muted.
Thanks, Andy. And those of you who know me know that talking about literacy and talking about education is one of my most favorite things to do. And I'm very pleased that I'm able to work through Rotary in my vocation as a teacher and as an educator, because education is really what does inspire people and what opens opportunities for their lives. Is it going to click? There we go. So literacy, what is it? Reading and writing, certainly, all of us know that. But literacy in education is also the ability to use numbers, images, and technology so that we can understand, so that we can communicate, so we can gain useful knowledge, and so we can solve problems. When we talk about literacy, we have to talk about how to enhance our children's mastery over the tools needed to live intelligent, creative, and involved lives. And I'd ask folks to keep that in mind when you're looking at literacy project or you're looking at education projects, is it's not just about the books or it's not just about the teacher training. It's about enabling people to live intelligent, creative, and involved lives. In other words, opening opportunities. So why is literacy and education such a need? Well, worldwide, nearly 1 in 9 adults lack basic literacy skills, which means they cannot read or write above a 3rd grade level. 60 million children do not have access to education, are not attending school. And the cost, the effect of this is that there is nearly 1.2 trillion, that's trillion with a TR, $1 trillion in lost wages annually. It's not just a problem in foreign countries and in developing countries, but certainly is a problem in this country as well. And I would certainly advocate that, yes, we need to be involved in education programs in developing countries, but every Rotary Club should be involved in an education or a literacy project in their own backyard. Lack of education affects health. It affects our incarceration levels. Generational illiteracy is certainly a problem for many, many families. Literacy and education is an issue for the immigrants and refugees and asylum seekers coming to the United States. And certainly that adult education is something that is a growing need within our country. And the reason why I circled education down on the bottom there is because it's estimated that 1 in 6 students who should be graduating from high school do not. That's in the United States. 1 in 6 students do not graduate from high school. And I will say right now, with looking at my crystal ball, this is going to become an even greater problem with so many kids either not in classes or going to school virtually, or the lack of dependability because of the COVID situation in our country right now. Many children are going to be dropping out of school. And this is something that I would encourage Rotarians to be talking to their schools about, to their adult education programs about, to organizations such as Learning Works in Portland, on how we can get involved, because there will be, I absolutely guarantee there will be a wave, a big wave of students not graduating from high school, which then goes right down the list for health and problems with corrections and generational illiteracy. So ways that we can address this, there's lots of ways that we can get involved in literacy and education programs. Certainly early childhood education is one that almost comes to mind immediately for most of us. Rotarians are involved in girls' education or gender disparity, and I would say gender disparity in the United States, because the problem is more frequently, many times more prevalent with boys not finishing school than with girls, boys dropping out of school, access to education for kids with disabilities, out of school and underperforming youth, use of technology in education, which has certainly become a big issue and much more in the front of our minds in the last year or so. Professional development for teachers, both here and abroad, adult literacy, as I said, and access to literacy resources such as libraries. It's not just about teaching little kids how to read. It's a lot more broad than that. So how can clubs be involved? Certainly going back to the list that I just gave you, looking at your communities and seeing what you might be involved in. Adult ed programs. Awareness things such as giving books to your libraries or to your local schools as speaker gifts. Programs to teach the 4-way test. Going into schools and reading with kids. Not reading to kids, although that's a great activity too, but having children read to you. Mentoring, career development. This is all part of literacy. A couple of examples of local projects. Waterville, Maine has a wonderful program called Rotary Reads, where their Rotarians go into early childhood centers and do reading with the children. They had a Maine author write a book called Rota's Rescue that they use, and they've got a cute little owl you can see there that goes right with it. And they do training for Rotarians on how to go in and how to read with children and how to ask questions and really be value added to those classrooms. One of our own clubs, Dover, New Hampshire, does their Traveling Tales van. They outfitted a van, and it's a mobile library that goes around to different parts of the community in the summertime, so that kids have access to books and story hours and reading and literacy activities. The free reading program is a great program out of Scarborough, not Maine, but Ontario, Canada. The free reading program helps kids improve their literacy skills. Many times it's used as an after-school project. And the free comes from Rotarians, Rotary clubs supporting the program so that we can get the licenses in the classrooms for kids to be using. One of my favorite projects done by the Rotary E-Club of the Caribbean is they do a contest every year. It's around the 4-way test, but it's also around service, where the kids have a contest in writing stories. They pick the 10 best every year. They put them into a book. You can buy the books on Amazon, actually. And so they're books about their culture and about service, but it gets the kids involved in reading and writing. A new project that I've just been introduced to is this book called Excited to Serve, written by a Rotarian, Andre Lewis. And it's about equality and about making sure that everyone has a role in the community. It's about discrimination and turning discrimination around so that differences are acknowledged as a positive. It's written as a comic, in kind of a comic book style. The books are available, and they would be a great program to use in a middle school, especially with an Interact program. And actually, the end of the book ends up with the kids forming an Interact to do work in their community. Partnering with organizations such as Save the Children is a program that we can all get involved in. Save the Children and LitRag has put together a roadmap so that Rotarians can see how to get involved in their community and identify the best practices and best programs that are available. On a large scale, certainly there's plenty that we can be doing on an international basis. Some of the programs that Rotarians in this district and others have been involved in, certainly the Guatemala Literacy Program. Many clubs in our district contribute to that annually. It's very large teacher training books, books and technology programs for rural Indigenous schools in Guatemala. Right to Read works with Indigenous communities, First Nation communities to put books in community centers in rural parts of Canada, up in British Columbia. Education Beyond Borders is a teacher training program to improve the quality of skills, instructional skills. And a Global Voice for Autism actually was started by a Peace Fellow who works in the Middle East with families who have children with autism to make sure that those children have access to education as well. If you're interested in literacy projects, I'd be happy to get involved. I'd be happy to help you out and give you some ideas. And certainly we're always looking for more Rotarians to get involved with LitRag, now BELRAG, Basic Education and Literacy Action Group, and be glad to help you and get involved with that. So shifting gears and going right along. One of our other areas of focus is community and economic development. Working with communities around the world, in our backyard and in other parts of the world, to invest in those communities so that people can make a living, so that people are in charge of their own destiny. The list here, working in economic and community development, the goals here are to really eliminate poverty, but through empowerment of people, building capacity of leadership, providing opportunities for productive work, empowering marginalized communities, think immigrant communities in our country many times, building capacity and working with entrepreneurship, addressing gender or class disparities that it may exist, developing environmental and natural resources as a viable economic plan, and working to improve the economic structure of a community. A couple of examples. This was actually a project that was begun by a good friend of mine out in California. Maureen had been doing a lot of work in Guatemala with me, and one of the things that she saw was that young women were not able to get jobs. And even if they were finishing high school, they were not able to go to college. They didn't have the resources for it. And they were not able to do meaningful work in their own community. So Maureen has been doing a business program essentially for these girls so that they can develop a business model so that they can get microcredit loans. And the girls started out by actually making sanitary pads, reusable, washable sanitary pads, because that was an issue in their village. And they developed this business in order to do that. Well, life and times changed. I believe they're still making the sanitary pads, but they have also shifted gears and expanded their outreach, and they're making masks and they're making headbands out of local textiles, and they're selling them in Guatemala, but they're also now through Maureen shipping them up through the United States to be sold here. So pretty cool way that she has gone to advance this program. This was a microcredit grant program that I reviewed in Romania a couple of years ago. Through loans of about $2,000, each of these gentlemen were able to start a new business. There was the funding for the microcredit loan, but also then a lot of training and education so that people could take that loan and really turn it into a business. A gentleman on the lower right was a farmer that was able to take his loan of $2,000 and buy a tractor, the tractor that you see, which I'm sure was much older than he was at the time, but he was no longer plowing his field with donkeys. And he was able to make a living for his family. And talk about empowerment and pride and being able to make a difference one person at a time. And the last project I just wanted to highlight here is Launch Detroit. Again, economic empowerment is not just something we do someplace else, but Launch Detroit was a large microfinance project that was done by Rotarians in Detroit to help raise the level of the city. Again, it involved microcredit. It involved a great amount of training in entrepreneurship, training in business plans, fairly small loans, $2,500 to $5,000 in loans, but enough to get businesses started, and the training, the mentoring, and the support to pull people out of poverty. A pretty cool project, again, in our own backyard, and something that is replicable that we could be doing. It's not always about going someplace else, but how do we look at our own communities and find value added where we can be involved? Thanks so much.
Wow, thank you, Carolyn. Rotary has added, or is in the process of adding, a new 7th area of focus, supporting our environment. And I am very excited about this. I think the addition of supporting the environment as an official Rotary area focus has amazing and outstanding positive public image and recruiting of new members potential. Here to chat about that is our Assistant Governor and District GrowRotary Co-Chair, Lorraine Faherty from Damerscott and Newcastle. Lorraine?
Hi, thank you. There isn't a better place, I don't think, in the earth to be talking about environment than living here in Maine and New Hampshire. I mean, look around, folks. It's part of why we live here, is we have this fabulous environment and we protect it. A couple of years ago, 2017-18, the Rotary International president, Ian Risley from Australia, an accountant, not somebody you might think of as being environmental leader, his focus was on trees. And we have 1.2 million Rotarians, and his plan was that every Rotarian would plant a tree, and it would be 1.2 million trees. And I think they came out with actually more than that year. I know where a couple of them are right here in my town. And sort of started from there. This is a wonderful opportunity for local clubs and committees to work with local, it doesn't all have to be, as Carolyn said, other countries and stuff, but a lot of us here are working with our local land trusts, conservation things. I think Billy Claflin from my club is still on. He's the guy that stops the truck kind of in the middle of the road and picks up the trash if he sees a beer can on the side of the road. That's environmental assistance. Clubs can do things like pair with a conservation trust we did complete a path that was through the land trust area for mobility impaired people, and a bench that was accessible. We did that financially with the land trust and a district grant. Rotarians work on parks and cleanup and enhancing on playgrounds. The possibilities for environmental issues are just, it's only as narrow as your imagination. They're everywhere. And I think that we've already started this, whether they had an official avenue of service or not. We've been doing it and we'll continue to do it. And there are work days. You can get prospective members to come out on a work day, or your kids or a family. You can do it on in a pandemic with a mask and, at least 6 to 10 feet apart out in the environment and see other human beings. It's kind of fun. I just want to come back to one quick thing that Andy touched on briefly. You'll notice that all these areas of focus are kind of intertwined or merge. There isn't a bright line that says this is only literacy, this is only water. Clean water and sanitation goes with mother and child care, and everything kind of works together. And so it's really exciting. And welcome to Rotary, to those of you that are new to us. That's it.
Thank you, Lorraine. That covers our Rotary structure, our Rotary Foundation, our 7 areas of focus. And now we have past District Governor John Labasco from South Portland, Cape Elizabeth, who's going to chat with us about Rotary action groups, Rotary fellowships, and district affinity groups. John?
Thanks, Andy. So as new Rotarians, you've seen that we primarily connect with our fellow club members through club meetings and local service projects. We also connect with Rotarians in other clubs in our district, which encompasses parts of Maine and parts of New Hampshire. We have 42 clubs and about 1,600 members, and we do joint projects with other clubs. We occasionally attend their meetings. We support their events when we can, and we see them at our annual district conference and other district-wide events and projects. Our primary international event is our annual international conference, and that's attended by tens of thousands of Rotarians. And our international convention reminds me of the World's Fair that I attended as a child. As you've probably already been told, should you travel internationally or even throughout our country, you'll be welcome at Rotary Club meetings throughout the country and the world. We connect in these ways as Rotarians, but we also have opportunities to connect in other ways. And as Andy mentioned, I'm going to speak about 3 of those ways tonight. They are Rotary action groups, Rotary fellowship groups, and district affinity groups. We know that our 1.2 million fellow Rotarians believe in service to others. We all have that in common, and we know that serving others also enriches our own lives. Through the 3 groups I mentioned, we also can meet other Rotarians whom we likely otherwise would not have met, but who have other passions in common with us. Rotary action groups are independent, international, Rotary affiliated groups whose members have expertise and experience in a particular area of specialization. Aligned with Rotary's priority to increase humanitarian impact, they use their knowledge and passion to help clubs and districts plan and carry out impactful service projects. Each group oversees its own governance, membership, and activities in accordance with Rotary International policies. So there are 25 action groups with 27,000 members globally. In 2019, action groups supported 1,600 service projects, connected members across 140 countries, and performed $890,000 worth of humanitarian projects. By joining a Rotary action group, you can use your professional skills to advise on meaningful service activities outside your own club, district, or country. It is easy enough to find an action group. You go to www.rotary.org/action groups, no space, or you can just Google Rotary action groups. The 25 action groups are, and there's always an opportunity to start new ones, but they're addiction prevention, AIDS and family health, Alzheimer's and dementia, blindness prevention, blood donation, clubfoot, diabetes, disaster assistance, domestic violence prevention, endangered species, environmental sustainability, food plant solutions, health education and wellness, hearing, hepatitis, literacy, malaria, mental health, microfinance and community development, multiple sclerosis, peace, polio survivors and associates, population and development, slavery prevention, and water and sanitation. Each has a website where you can learn more about its mission and how to join. Next, I'll tell you about Rotary Fellowship Groups. These are international as well. Rotary Fellowships are comprised of members that share a common passion. Being part of a fellowship is a fun way to make friends around the world, explore a hobby or profession, and enhance your Rotary experience. Rotary Fellowships consist of members who share a common interest in recreational activities, sports, hobbies, or professions. You can visit rotary.org/fellowships for additional resources on Rotary Fellowships, or just Google Rotary Fellowships. There are close to 100 Rotary Fellowships. Each has its own website where you can learn more, and go to Rotary Fellowships, the general Rotary Fellowships website for a complete list. But I'm going to tell you some of them now so that they might pique your interest. Antique automobiles, beards and mustaches. And now I think you might think that I might want to join that one, and I probably would, except my wife is after me to get rid of my COVID beard. So I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to have it, but we'll see. Maybe I'll end up joining that one. Bees, beer, bird watching, bowling, canoeing, chess, cruising, cycling, doll lovers, checkers, education, fishing, flying, genealogy, gin, golf, gourmet cooking, healthcare professionals, hiking, home exchange, horseback riding, jazz, LGBT, magicians, marathon running, military veterans, motorcycling, music, old and rare books, photographers, police and law enforcement, public health, quilters and fiber artists, railroads, recreational vehicles, Rotary Heritage and History, Rotary on Stamps, rowing, rum, scouting, scuba, skiing, surfing, table tennis, tennis, travel and hosting, triathlon, water polo, whiskey, wine, yachting, and yoga. And that's only some of them. As our final group to discuss tonight, we have right here within our district affinity groups. To see a list of our district affinity groups, go to our district webpage, rotary7780.org, and type affinity groups into the search bar. You'll see an article listing the affinity groups and a link to click if you'd like to join or learn more about one of them. We are always interested in setting up new affinity groups for Rotarians within our district who have common interests or hobbies. So far, we have these either formed or in formation. JAG officers, Peace Corps alumni, Rotary History and Technology, diplomats, foreign service, and others who have lived abroad, including missionaries, teachers, business people, paddling, that's canoeing, kayaking, stand-up paddling, running, hiking, sports cars. We have a local traveling Rotarian group who will go and travel to other clubs and support their events and fundraisers. We have international traveling Rotarians who are interested in visiting clubs in other countries, healthcare workers, tennis, and fly fishing groups. So that is a quick rundown on our action groups, fellowships, and affinity groups. New Rotarians, I hope you enjoy your Rotary adventure and find it as fulfilling as so many of us have found Rotary to be. And for more information on the groups I discussed tonight, feel free to contact me at lobosco@maine.rr.com. And now I'll turn it to Andy for his closing remarks.
John, thank you very much. Wow. Rotary does a lot. There's an area of interest there for everyone, I think. Any sort of doing good that interests you can be accommodated by Rotary. Rotary gives you the opportunity to team up with others of like interests and to leverage your investment of time and resources into the projects of your choosing. A big thank you very, very much to our presenters this evening for taking time out of your evening to assist with this seminar. Thank you very, very much. We love you all for what you do. And thank you, all of you, for joining us this evening. We really appreciate all that you do for Rotary, all that you do for your local communities, in all you do for our world. Rotary is making our world a better place. Thank you for your part in that. You are making a difference. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll stick around for a little while if anybody has any questions.
Take care, everybody.
And some new Rotarians, I'd be interested in knowing your clubs.
I'm from Dover, New Hampshire.
Oh, nice, nice. Yes.
Cape Elizabeth, South Portland.
Welcome back, Thomas.
Thank you.
Ivan de Groot, Boothbay or Boothbay Harbor.
Nice.
Hey, Ivan.
I'm Rick. I'm going to be joining the Exeter Club.
Excellent.
All right. You're working
Excellent.
with Bob Hamilton. Excellent.
Yep, Bob. They're going to let me in, I think.
Good, good.
I'm Donnell. I'm with the Bath Club.
Welcome. Welcome. That's excellent.
Terrific. Any
Good.
questions, Rick?
That was a lot of info.
We had a similar presentation at our club meeting on Tuesday. So that wasn't the first time I've heard it, which is great. And it was nicely presented this evening. Though. Thank you all very much for taking the time to do that.
Thank you,
Thank
Rick.
you, Rick.
Thank you.
Don Pylon, did you get my email about Freiburg? You're muted.
I did, yes. Thank you. I'll follow up on that.
All right. Sorry, it doesn't help you, but
Yep.
at least we know where not to go. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Great job, Andy and Lorraine. Excellent, excellent.
Thank you, Governor.
Really
Take care, everybody.
appreciate you doing it all the time.
John, I'm sorry you missed your club meeting for this. My apologies.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
This
There-
event was actually scheduled for last night until
Uh-huh.
the last minute.
Oh, no worries.
Zone meeting.
No, this is all good. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night. Bye.
Good night, everyone.